The Miller's Prologue and Tale by Macy, Tierney, Lina, Assaad, and Carrington, McMaster. The story starts off at the prologue, where there's a group of people who all meet at an inn and find out that they're all going to the same religious pilgrimage to Canterbury. They make a deal about whoever tells the best story gets a free dinner. They went in order of social class, so the knight was first. After his story, it was time for the monk to go, but the miller, who was in one of the lower classes, interrupted him and went next. The miller was strong and had a red beard. He had a wart on his nose and had black, wide nostrils. He wore a blue hood and a white coat. He has his sword and buckler on his side. He was drunk, pushy, rude, and insulting, and he was also called a fool. He was in the lower class and was a farmer. As part of the lower class, he inverts the hierarchy when he tells his story before the monk. His story seemed like a response to the knight's tale of love and chivalry.
The carpenter marries a young woman and is afraid that she will love someone else. There is another man named Albison who is also in love with her. He tries to woo her with expensive gifts like jewelry. Nicholas tries to get Allison to kiss him. At first, she says no, but then grants his wish. He comes up with a plan to spend a night with Allison and tells the carpenter that a massive flood is coming. They tie 3 tubs to the roof for the 3 of them. When the carpenter falls asleep on the roof, Allison and Nicholas sneak down to Nicholas's bed. Albison begs Allison for a kiss, but she tricks him. He gets mad and leaves. When Albison comes back, he brands Nicholas with a stick, causing Nicholas to cry out for water. When the carpenter hears his cry, he cuts his rope from the roof and falls onto the ground, breaking his arm. There are many key takeaways from the story, the first being the breaking of the social order when the miller cuts in front of the monk to tell his story. The second would be the miller being a very bold and strong man. He is also very drunk whenever he tells his story. That reflects on his character and the way he carries himself, and this causes the reader to develop a negative outlook towards the miller. And the third would be the moral of the miller story, which is to not marry someone if you aren't compatible. Whenever he's telling a story, it's telling the story of how 2 people are doped from love.
Quotes. The first quote we have is, "The miller that for drunkenness was pale, so that with effort on his horse he sat. He would neither doff his hood or hat, nor wait for any man. In courtesy, but in Pilate's voice began noisily to swear." This quote shows the physical appearance of the miller and how it relates to his social status by explaining that he did not have the courtesy to wait for any man. It shows that he was not very polite and he seemed to be very outspoken. The second quote says, "But first I'll make a protestation, that I am drunk, I know it by my tongue, and therefore, if that I must speak or say, blame that the owl of Southwark I pray." This quote explains the state of mind since he is drunk, and so if his speech is slurred, he wants everyone to know that that's why. At the end of the quote, when he says, "I pray," he says this because prayer is a very important part of his tale. The third quote states that since the husband John is jealous, Nicholas should trick him because he deserves to be tricked. Symbolism. For symbolism, we have a symbol of a fall from grace and status in society is when the old man falls. The silk and fur clothes symbolize wealth. You could tell who had money by the clothes they wore and the materials that they had. The physical appearance of the characters are used as symbols of their status. For example, Miller has the wart on his nose, which is an imperfection, and he is in the lower class. The story being set during spring symbolizes a start to new beginnings and a fresh start. These are our works cited.
Thank you for watching.